بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In the very first revelation of the Holy Quran, we find one of the names and attributes of Allah Almighty, and that is Al-Akram, the most honorable and the most generous. Al-Akram is the superlative, the maximum superlative possible in Arabic from Al-Kareem. And Al-Kareem is one of the beautiful names of Allah Almighty as well. We have three names linked to the same concept. Like we have Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, both of them are to Rahmah, for example. We have Al-Kareem, and we have Al-Akram, and we have Dhul Jalali wal Ikram. Al-Kareem in Arabic is a comprehensive name that encompasses everything that is praiseworthy. Any attribute that is praiseworthy is automatically part of Al-Kareem. So when somebody is generous, you say Kareem. When somebody is honorable, you say he is Kareem. When somebody is well-behaving and has good characteristics, you say he is Kareem in his morals and so on. So anything that is good and recommended and praiseworthy, this is part of Kareem. Al-Akram is the superlative of that. Dhul Jalali wal Ikram, slightly different. Dhul Jalali wal Ikram has two different attributes, names and attributes of Allah Almighty. The first one, the owner of majesty and grandeur. This is Dhul Jalal. Dhul Ikram, this is the one who honors others and grant them or give them. So two different aspects. Beautifully, the names and attributes of Allah Almighty can be categorized into two main categories. One of them is that of grandeur and majesty of Allah Almighty. They are called in Arabic the names and attributes of Jalal, of majesty and honor and grandeur. For example, Al-Aziz, Al-Hakim, Al-Qawi, Al-Mateen, and so on. We have other attributes that represent the beauty and mercy from Allah Almighty. The other side of the picture complements the characteristics of Allah Almighty, such as Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Kareem, and so on. They reflect upon His creation. They reflect upon the creation of Allah Almighty. So you have Jalal and you have Jamal. To make the concept slightly clearer, see, some people when they go to Makkah al-Mukarramah, they say we feel the grandeur of Allah Almighty and the majesty. While when we go to Medina, we feel more merciful and more spiritual. Yes, that is the Jalal and this is the Jamal. This is the grandeur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the majesty of Allah Almighty, and there the mercy of Allah Almighty. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is mercy from Allah Almighty, and that is the city of the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when you understand, Dhul Jalal wal Ikram has both aspects together. Now what does Al-Kareem by itself mean? Scholar mentions 16 meaning to Al-Kareem. All of them means Kareem. So it's very easy to translate Kareem with one word, but that will not give it justice, because it has 16 different aspects. We'll go through them very quickly. The first one, Al-Kareem is the one who gives without an exchange. He does not want anything in exchange from you. Al-Kareem is the one who gives without a reason. Kareem is the one who does not need an intermediary between you and him. The one who gives to everyone, whether he is a believer or disbeliever. The one who is happy when you accept what he gives you. When you accept it, it is considered ibadah. When you use it and display it, this is considered ibadah. We'll elaborate later on. The Kareem is the one who gives and then praise you for what he already gave you. Subhanallah. For example, when Allah Almighty guided you to Islam and guided you to Iman and make you love it, Now when you do that, Allah Almighty praise you, mashallah. Look at my servant. He is obedient and he is worshipping and he is loving and so on. Although he granted you that. Another example, for example, Ayyub alayhi salam, when Allah Almighty granted him patience. He was patient by the mercy and generosity of Allah Almighty. Then Allah Almighty praised him as a great servant of his because he was patient. So the Kareem is the one who gives and then praise you for what he provided for you. This is the next after that is he gives to all, whether to those who need and those who do not need. So when somebody is wealthy, it doesn't mean Allah Almighty will stop giving him. He will continue to give to everyone, whether they need or whether they don't need. It is the one who gives even to those who disobey him and say bad things about him, subhanAllah. Even the disbelievers, not only those who disbelieve, even those who claim to be gods themselves, Allah Almighty will still give them. Those who associate other with Allah Almighty, Allah will still give them. That is the Kareem. The one who gives even before asking. This is an interesting point because we get a question many times from people. They say, I've been asking Allah Almighty for so long and He didn't accept my dua. And you might hear it a lot and it could come to one's mind. And we forget or ignore that Allah Almighty has already given us lots of things without ever asking. Isn't it? So He never asked for your body, your intellect, your eyesight, your senses, your inner organs and outside organs, and all of them, millions and millions of things are going inside your body and they are perfect. True? And you never asked for any of that. Probably whatever you didn't miss in your life, you never asked Allah Almighty for it. True? Did you ever pray to Allah Almighty to be smart, for example? Or intellectual? Or to be good looking, or to have a certain thing in your life, or to have a family and children. If you have it, most likely you never asked Allah Almighty for it. You don't ask Allah Almighty except when you miss it. When you don't have children, that is when you continue to pray to Allah Almighty for children. So the Kareem is the one who gives before asking. So always remember, even if you didn't get something, Allah Almighty has already provided you with lots of things without ever asking. And then is the one who gives even when you want something but don't ask for it. What does that happen? You see, sometimes a person wants something from Allah Almighty but he does not ask Him for it directly. He asks for it indirectly, or he dedicates his time to worshipping Allah Almighty and remembering Him without making that dua. For example, the example of Ayyub alayhi salam again. He said to Allah Almighty, Rabbi inni massani ad-durru wa anta arhamur rahimin. Oh Allah Almighty, I have been touched by some harm and you are the most merciful out of all those who show mercy. Where is the asking? Nothing. But it means, so even without asking, He will give. Another way is you need something from Allah Almighty, but you dedicate your dua to praising Allah Almighty and thanking Him, but you don't ask for it. He will give it to you. In the narration, Allah Almighty says, anyone who is busy with my remembrance, so much so that he does not ask me, because he dedicates most of his time to remember Allah Almighty, I will give him the best of what I give to those who ask. So even without asking, He will still give. And it could happen. There are so many good things that happen in life. We never ask Allah Almighty for it. And this is part of that. Also, the one who, when he is able, he will forgive. How many times you thought that you will be punished for something that you did against Allah Almighty or against people, but then Allah Almighty spared you and you are safe from that. That is part of the karam of Allah Almighty. And the one who, when He promises, He fulfills all His promises. And the one who is asked for little things and major things. So worldly little things are asked by Allah Almighty. Somebody who is hungry and he needs a little thing to eat, for that day he will ask Allah Almighty. And something who wants al-firdaus al-a'la will still ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he's asked everything. And the one who, whenever he is asked, he will never waste the person who asked him. Never. If you are praying to Allah Almighty or asking Allah Almighty, He will never waste you. whatever dua you make to Allah Almighty, He will accept it. The only difference is that the acceptance is not exactly what you want always. Either He will give you what you want, or He will give you something better for you. You are not asking for it, but that is better for you. Or He will save you from trials and tribulation in equal amount to what you are asking for. You are asking for a car or a wife or some money, but in destiny you are destined to have an accident and be disabled for life, God forbid. Or to go crazy or have dementia or some major thing. You are not making dua for that. But Allah Almighty, you are praying for something else, but He will grant you this instead by saving you, so give you something much better for you. And then finally, He will keep it for you in the hereafter. So you will come in the hereafter in a high place in paradise. You say, where is that from? That is for your dua. You made dua, but you didn't give it to you there. We accepted it for you, but we kept it for you there in the hereafter. That is when the person hopes that Allah Almighty does not accept any of his dua in this world, which is that all the dua are kept in the hereafter. In our world, there is something that slightly resembles this. You know, in some work, especially government work, usually there is an end of service gratuity. That gratuity, usually if you have been working or serving for a long time, is going to be a huge amount.